Hey everyone, what's up? So just wanted to mention the uh, not being religious, certainly not Orthodox. So, a lot of these names, a lot of these things mean stuff. And I think it's worth taking it apart a little bit. So, as far as religion is concerned, like using the word religious, I'd just like to use my definition, and that is when you believe things that you wished were true. Believing something you wish were true, meaning you don't know it's true, you don't really have a clue it's true, it's somehow beneficial for you to believe it's true. That would be something religious. Um, there might be people who are very, very observant Jews who light Hanukkah candles, but have no idea. They've never done any check to see if there's a God, and they've also never, um, really done any real work to find out if the Torah is true. Like they haven't really checked that out too much, and if at all. And there they are lighting Hanukkah candles. Now that I think would be a religious act to light the candles of Hanukkah. Another Jew who, let's say, is they're a Reform Jew, or let's say they don't necessarily believe in God and they don't believe that the Torah is divine or anything, and now they're lighting Hanukkah candles. I would imagine that's a religious act as well. Um, Whereas someone who knows there's a God, they've done the work, they've done all they've worked it out, they've sought out the evidence. It's reached a critical threshold for them. Everyone's got their own threshold of evidence that they need for something to be called true. We risk our lives in airplanes, cars, and so walking across in the street and stuff with using just basic evidence, but we don't know. We use what's called, instead of empirical knowledge, we use what's called deductive knowledge. We deduce that it's true. And certainly God wasn't expecting much more of that, unless you're a prophet, that you would just deduce that there's a God through, serious thinking about it, serious contemplation and research. And then the other thing is that the Torah is true, is just simply take the document called Torah and see if it's possible that a human being could have written such a book. Because Judaism claims it was not written by a human. Other religions, certainly everyone believes that the Quran was written by a person, and they don't say differently. And Christians don't believe that anyone other than the apostles wrote the Christian Bible. But Judaism, it's different. We say God wrote this Bible. So who was Moses? Well, first of all, Moses only shows up halfway through world history. Moses only comes to town on, two and a half millennia after Adam. And anyway, but the point for us is that if you do your homework, if you check things out, and then you do something, you're not acting religiously. That's not religious. If I look both ways and then cross the street, that's not a religious act. Okay, I think a religious act would be not to look and run across the street. The way we live our lives and our choices we make throughout the day, those aren't religious choices. They're based on on a general process of elimination, on checking things out, see if something's real, something's true, something's safe. And the same is true about the Torah and our lifestyle based on the Torah. Then there's the word Orthodox. We never use the word Orthodox. And if you have been using that word, please stop. The word Orthodox means strict, and it is a term that was not created by those who are observant Jews. It was a term that was created by I imagine it was either the Reform and the Conservative, maybe both. But what they did was they pointed back at the Jews who actually were still keeping the Torah and said, oh, they're also Jewish. Meaning we're the ones like who are moderate and normal and like keeping Judaism in a way that like makes sense to us, driving to shul, whatever. Whereas those weirdos walk in a shul for miles, or won't touch their electricity or whatever, they're strict. They're the Orthodox Jews. So it's really a mudsling if you think about it. It's name calling to call the observant Jews Orthodox. Meaning what you're basically saying is, I'm Jewish and they're strict, and the strict isn't a compliment. That's not a compliment at all. And certainly, yeah, I can imagine I mean, if you know me, you know how chilled out I am. But it's not just that I'm chilled out. I'm part of a whole community of chilled out people. And I was just in the mountain city in the north of Israel, in Sfat. That's like as chill as it comes. I mean, people are extra chill on their own little schedule over there. And it doesn't run on regular time. And my neighborhood doesn't really run much on regular time either. And everyone is like, I mean, it's like the 1960s in the way they deal with strictness. No one's really strict about anything here. Do we keep the Torah? Yes. Are we careful with it? Very careful. If we had a choice, let's say this is the law, and there are leniencies you could rely on if you had to, and there are stringencies. Which one would we choose? So we would probably more likely choose leniency. So then, what are the stringencies for? The stringencies are to help you get close to God. In that, for some people, keeping that stringency is really going to bring you close to God. And if that's the case, then you have to go that way, because we're only here to get close to God. But in general, most people who are in a life of stringency or being real strict, I don't get a sense they're feeling close to God. And one of the ways to know if someone's really close to God is, how holy do you feel in their presence? Because holy people who are very close to God, they make you feel close to God. You feel holy in their presence. Whereas when you're around a person whose personality, like their disposition, is a strict one, so you usually don't feel very holy around them. You feel quite the opposite. You feel like you're lacking somehow spiritually in compared to them. And so strictness and holiness don't necessarily go together, and quite often they necessarily don't go together. Anyway, just want to make that clear. So in the future, the best word for religious for a Jew who's actually knows what they're doing, it would be that they're observant. And instead of Orthodox, that they're observant. They're observant of the Torah. They keep the Torah laws, the Torah values. That is an observant person, not an Orthodox person, and not a religious person, but an observant person, someone who has checked it out, says this is the real deal, and now they have aligned themselves with that vibration, and that now that person could be called an observant Jew. Just share with you just a quick story that's kind of sweet. When we were in the north this week, we're doing a very, very rare commandment of redeeming the firstborn of a donkey. It's a very rare thing, because donkeys, I guess, apparently the first child is almost always a female. Once in a blue moon, there's a regular donkey, a male donkey, and then they have to redeem it to a Cohen. And anyway, without going into detail of that, I met this guy there, and he was telling me about his community, and I said, are they observant there? He says, well, that's up to you. And I looked at him like, it's up to me. He says, yeah, it's how you see people. If you see a car driving on Shabbos, maybe you see them as someone on their way to the hospital to give birth. It's up to you how observant they are. Blessings, all the best, and please subscribe and hit the little notification bell. All the best. Be well.